Perfect. Well, thank you everyone for joining today. Really excited about this silo tank. We've got Michael here with Snowbear. I've actually been using it as a user for the last couple of weeks, have really enjoyed using it. I think everybody's going to find this pretty cool, especially if you're a Slack user, which we are. But Michael, go ahead and let you kick off. This is our silo group. We're probably going to have a couple more people join in the meantime, but feel free to kick off. You have all the access controls and everything. Very excited to have you.
Amazing. Thank you, Sabrina. And thank you everyone for having me. I'm Michael, the founder of Snowbear, and very excited to present the capability, the agent that Sabrina's been using over the last few weeks, and that we're actively in beta testing for. So I have a quick presentation, so I can go through a few slides, and then we can spend most of the time in Slack where the actual demo is, where I can show kind of examples of talking with the agent to find different candidates and whatnot. And we can keep it conversational. Feel free to jump in at any point and ask questions, and happy to provide feedback throughout and whatnot. But with that, I will go ahead and get started. So I'll share my screen. Cool. Can you see that?
Yeah. We can, yes.
Perfect. All right. So really quick, just intro on myself. I'm Michael, the CEO and founder of Snowbear. On the personal side, I live in San Francisco, so I've been here for about 4 years. Prior to that, I was in Chicago, grew up in northern Indiana, was a proud Hoosier. Here's pictures of me. I was in Japan last year, got to hang out with some snow monkeys, which was super fun. And then there's my family. So I'm a middle child. I have a younger brother, older sister. That was also on a family trip. On the professional side, I was in Instacart ads product manager for about 4 years. So I got to see the business grow from nearly $300 million of ads revenue to nearly $1 billion of ads revenue. So it was really cool to see kind of what it means to build an ads business at scale. And then prior to that, I was at Accenture, where I helped Fortune 500 clients, implement new technologies. And then the picture on the right-hand side, that was my junior year of college, so quite some time ago. I was presenting, and they took that picture and used it in LinkedIn, and the caption is focused on like networking tips and facilitating networking. And I thought it was so funny. I see the through line between being a middle child, kind of always connecting with my family and friends, and then the LinkedIn picture, kind of professional networking as well. And it's a very funny through line, because that's exactly what Snowbear is focused on, which is kind of facilitating professional relationships and connections. So what is Snowbear exactly? It's really an autonomous networking agent. So it supports a variety of use cases, and I just see so much value in helping professionals expand and engage their network. So today we're focused on recruiting. It's really good at finding ideal candidates for you and then engaging them autonomously on LinkedIn and email. It's also used today by founders that are doing founder-led sales, investors that are eager to find investment candidates and find people to invest in, and job seekers as well. So people that are interested in meeting hiring managers and finding the next opportunity. Snowbear can also help them kind of expand their network. So really excited to be seeing initial users using it, getting meetings actively from the platform. And we just launched about a month ago in beta testing. So what is specifically with recruiting, what does it focus on? It learns about your business. So we'll analyze your LinkedIn, company site, job description, identifies top talent. So we use a variety of databases, and AI is actually going through, analyzing samples from each database and identifying relevant candidates from each of them, and then automating the engagement. So it can do everything from a view-only mode, where it just shows you identified candidates, to sending connection requests on LinkedIn, helping you expand your network, to more exhaustive things like sending multi-channel campaigns, where you can do things like their posts and then follow up in 24 hours for an initial message, and then follow up in 48 hours with an email. You can set up those more complicated flows within Snowbear as well. So where are we today, and kind of where do we want to get to in the future? Today, we're mostly focused on kind of the identifying candidates, personalizing outreach, organizing data. In the future, we really want to get into more of the operational things to let you guys focus more on the human aspects. So things like coordinating interviews, just like scheduling, sharing briefings, post interviews, facilitating discussions. We see these as opportunities Snowbear could facilitate, but today mostly focused on the kind of identifying candidates and personalizing that outreach. So I think that's it. Yeah, pretty short, high-level overview. I can jump into a demo, but any high-level questions or any initial thoughts or feedback before I dive into the actual capability? Cool. Easy enough. All right. Well, I'll show it. Something I probably should have emphasized is the experience is really message based. So it's meant to be kind of an agent that is, very flexible. So I'll be showing you in Slack today. I think Slack, as Sabrina mentioned, is kind of the interface that, a lot of folks have really gravitated towards, as a lot of people are already working in Slack and can add it there. It also is available via text and email. So that, those are the channels that we focus on. We also have like a lame dashboard that you can go in and kind of check information and whatnot, but it's really, I think it shines when you're actually messaging it via one of the main channels. So let me show my screen. So I'll take you through, a few different areas, and this is all live and, flexible. So if anyone wants to jump in at any point and be like, oh, you should do this or something, we can kind of go off script. But so this is a channel I set up that shows kind of me supporting recruiting for a digital analyst. This was from, a mentor of mine kind of runs a consulting firm, and they were looking for this job candidate. So we were testing it out. And I'll also jump to the tab so you can kind of see what the actual docs are. But, just to start off, I said, hey, here's a JD. Can you identify what kind of hires I should be focused on? So I shared that Google Doc link, and if you can bear with me, I'll share what that looks like exactly. So this was the actual job description I shared. So this was just a Google Doc kind of talking about Zilker Trails, the consulting firm. They're really looking for someone that does continuous testing and personalization, like a digital analyst. Some hard skills that they're really focused on include Amplitude, Google Analytics, Adobe Analytics, looking for someone that can help kind of with web analytics primarily. So share that job description with Snowbear, asked it to help me find a relevant candidate. It actually read the Google Doc. It said, great JD. That's pretty interesting. It kind of identified two different potential personas that I could be targeting. So someone with web analytics, Google Analytics, Adobe Analytics, Amplitude experience, picked up on A/B testing, multivariant testing, digital analyst, and whatnot. Senior consultant, someone with 5+ years of experience. So, quite a bit more. And kind of talks about ideal background, what it means for their pipeline and whatnot. I'm like, great. Can you help me find people that match this persona? So it says on it, let me search for these analytics and candidates. It found 3 potential folks that matched the job description, and they were validated by the end user, really strong fits for this role. So I'll show you, these are just links to their LinkedIn. So it found these matches, has previously manager optimization analytics, has experience running A/B tests, Adobe Analytics and whatnot. And actually, I'll just pop over to their LinkedIn really quick so you can view it. So this was Adam, who was the first person found from AI searching. And specifically, within Adam's profile, he was previously a senior digital analytics consultant. He has a lot of experience in digital analytics, conversion rate optimization. Specifically in his profile, it talks about Adobe Analytics and Adobe Target. So I was able to find someone with those specific skill sets, which is awesome. He also went to great schools, so he has an MBA from USC, undergrad from NYU, and whatnot. So Adam was a really strong candidate. Nikita also. This was the second person that AI listed, and really strong background for her as well. So web and digital analytics manager at Comcast Business. Her LinkedIn profile specifically talks about running A/B tests and whatnot. And she was previously an analytics manager, went to Cornell. So really strong backgrounds from these folks. And Snowbear was able to find them again by looking at a variety of data sources and kind of actually manually filtering through there. So I also wanted to show you. Going back, making sure, yeah. So this is actually what the steps AI took to find those candidates. So, in Slack, it showed there was a 5-minute gap between it saying on it and then it actually finding and showing those candidates. So what it was actually doing, I'll take you through in just a few steps. And, it was actually running a query, looking at the results, and then refining the filters kind of based on the results and continuing to iterate based on that. So it initially did a broad search. It found 900,000 people that matched that, so very broad. Acknowledged it was too broad, and then looked for candidates with Adobe Analytics specific experience. The second step, it looked more targeted. It used some Adobe Analytics. It actually looked for people that had that specific skill set. I think within this, it actually found that they were digital analysts. So this was like not necessarily the consulting background that they was looking for. So then it looked for it, kind of refined appropriately and looked for more senior roles with consulting experience and whatnot. Kind of within that, so it looked for people with this consulting background, looked for a job title of optimization, and then it was getting better. So it did find some reasonable candidates here that it actually lists, but it was still kind of overly broad. So then it looked for Adobe Analytics and Big Four Consulting. And this was the fourth and validated step. And this is actually AI. In the thinking logs here, it says, now we're talking. So AI was actually excited about these outcomes. And within the thinking logs, it explains that it's like very excited about the outcomes. Found people with digital analytics in their title phrase. It was able to find kind of Adam that I showed you their LinkedIn for, and other folks that were really strong candidates. So this is actually AI kind of filtering through these data sources and finding the relevant candidates and whatnot. So I'll pause really quick. I can hop back to the Slack channel, but any initial feedback kind of based on kind of the thinking or kind of identifying relevant candidates?
Not yet.
Cool. All good. Let me go back to Slack then. Cool. So then, I took it a step further and wanted to actually just use these, LinkedIn to actually send a LinkedIn request to these people. So asked Snowbear to send LinkedIn requests. It mentioned it was out of credits just because it was a test account. So, added credits, and then it was able to schedule LinkedIn requests to be done for these users throughout the day, which was awesome, super helpful to see. And then I asked it to create a quick spreadsheet for me and organize these candidates. So it was able to do that, built a spreadsheet of those 3 candidates and 8 others I had previously sourced, organized those in a streamlined way, and then shared them with me as well. And then I'll really quickly kind of show you. So that was an example of using it kind of within an onboarding scenario where you're showing a job description and kind of getting feedback on it. I'll also share what it looks like live. So this is actually kind of one of my test accounts looking for kind of B2B growth leaders. And this is a Slack channel setup where it's specifically getting notifications every day from Snowbear on the people that it's finding and the responses that I'm getting. So every day it's set up to source a number of candidates for me. So it's, every day in the morning. Let me actually scroll up to yesterday. This is a lot of data. So I said, good morning. I found 4 new contacts and I have 5 going out today. So found scheduled 5 contacts, found 4 new ones, and 1 was already enrolled. It shows all the candidates that it found. This is again for prospecting, but it would be a very similar experience for recruiting as well. So it shows their role, location, and rationale. So kind of explaining why that it targeted to find these people and whatnot. And then in the evening, so around 4 p.m. every day, it kind of explains who sent connection requests, what replies I'm getting as well, and whatnot. So it targeted. It found that all of these folks have accepted LinkedIn requests from me. Highlights the sent and accepted rate, which is 50%, which is pretty high, and also a reply that I received as well. And then you can see here, it shows the specific messages that I'm receiving. So then later in the day, a specific message came in through a user that Snowbear actually identified. The user saying they really enjoyed the product, which is super exciting to see. And it shares a draft response that I can share with it. And the draft responses are really tailored towards getting a meeting. So it includes your calendar link, and it will try to get someone to ultimately meet with you, and that's kind of the what Snowbear is focused on. So drafts that you can ask it to send or not, and you can leverage that if you prefer. And then the next day it sends similar candidates. So then this morning it found similar candidates for me to reach out to and engage. So that's kind of what it looks like, kind of operating on a normal day-to-day cadence. And then I can also show you kind of the actual dashboard and what it looks like. So this is the chat experience. We do have like a UI where you can actually view these candidates and whatnot. Any questions on kind of the day-to-day Slack or the notifications that you might be receiving?
I would also point out, Michael, this is all intuitive too. So like if you ask Snowbear to just like change something, it will do it for you. Like I literally have been using it this week. And it sent out a message and immediately was like, oh, hey, the template's messed up. Do you want me to fix it? Do you want me to do this option or this option? So really intuitive. Just wanted to point that out. But yes, feel free to show the dashboard.
Yep. Yeah, thank you, Sabrina. Yeah, it really is meant to be kind of a flexible chat experience. Basically, on the back end, AI has access to all the tools within our system to create campaigns, enroll candidates, and whatnot. And it's just an easy front door for you to be able to access kind of within Slack. And it also has the ability to create Slack channels, so you can create a Slack channel for specific purposes for specific candidate outreach and whatnot. So that's been pretty interesting. Let me show you then the dashboard. Within this, so this is just a view. This is my test account, but this is what it actually looks like. So you can see the campaigns that are live today, the daily target of outreach, sent and accepted, acceptance rate and response rate. You can do things like just check campaign settings and edit them, set end dates. This is where you can edit the sequences, so you can set different LinkedIn and email sequences and kind of refine them as needed. You can select email enrichment, so you can find personal emails or professional emails and set Slack channels that notifications will be sent to for the specific campaign. And then you can also view people as well. So you can view people associated with each campaign, their status, so connection request sent or etc. Any emails, their LinkedIn's, and then you can export this directly as well. So you can export this data in a Google Sheet, and then that is all tracked here. So you can kind of export that on a weekly cadence or what have you, and this is all organized in one place. So yeah, that's the experience today. A lot of things that we're really excited to build to help you kind of identify more warm candidates and whatnot. But the current experience is really focused on kind of the chat UI that you can message to set up these campaigns and drive outreach, and then kind of the dashboard where you can just kind of validate and kind of see the people and results and whatnot. So that's most of the demo. I do have some quick questions for you guys, but before I do that, any questions from you or any questions on the capability or kind of what I was showing?
Hey, Michael, I actually do have a question. It's
Yeah,
mostly because I've again been using this. So one thing that I did want to kind of call out. So for messaging, I guess so I've sent a couple of like, hey, use these message templates, and I don't know if it's always picking that up. Is there a way to do that in the dashboard as well?
Right. Totally.
I feel like you may have showed me that a couple times, and now I don't remember how to do it.
Yeah, great question. And yeah, thank you just again, Sabrina, for using it and providing feedback. Like truly grateful for your support. And I think, over the last week we launched the campaign capability where you can actually attach campaigns to users, so you can actually reach out to multiple candidate types. So I think that that system allows you to set up specific sequences for users. So let me show you what that looks like real quick. So you can ask Snowbear to do this, but if you ever just want to gut check or just kind of see what that looks like in the background, that would be in this campaign section. If you select edit campaign, these sequences is what controls it. So by default, a lot of them will default to connection requests. So it just sends a connection request. And then if there's a variety of default sequences here. You can also make your own. So Sabrina, any one that AI has created will be within this custom area. And if you're not seeing it, or you think it might not be tied anymore, which it might not be, given like the campaign capability just launched last week, all you have to do is go in here and select which sequence you want, and then make sure to save it. And then it will actually tie that sequence to the campaign. So any user will then automatically be enrolled in that sequence. So that's how you automatically have it follow up with people and send specific messages. So you can do things like,
Very
yeah,
cool.
yeah, totally. And I think I need to do a better job of kind of explaining that all the features as they launch. But so within this, you can adjust kind of the primary messaging. In terms of AI personalization, I use these brackets for AI to identify things that it can personalize. So it's very flexible today. AI will look at basically all of the information from their LinkedIn and information that you've sent it in previous messages, use that to personalize where possible. If there is any weirdness or, the AI personalization does not, fully come through, there's also fallback messages. So all the fallback messages with limited personalization are just in case the AI isn't able to personalize any of the specific areas. But you can adjust that here. I have users that are setting up multiple campaigns to test different sequences. So you can set up a sequence that is more elaborate with things like liking posts or more in-depth follow-up messages, and then a more simple one, and you can kind of actually validate how well it performs. And again, AI can set this all up for you. So AI has access to the campaign editing capabilities and can set up sequences. But this UI is here as kind of a fallback if you ever want to kind of validate, like, hey, what's going on? What are the actual sequences that are tied to specific campaigns? This is the source of truth that you can actually leverage.
That's really cool. I actually just used the fallback message method. That's what I was kind of mentioning. It was like, oh, I didn't realize you could change the sequences here. So I tried to do it via Slack, and it was like, hey, this didn't work, but I sent a fallback message. Like, oh, that's very legit. Very cool.
So good. Love to hear it. Yeah. That is great to hear. And then, yeah, in addition to these sequences, it also supplies personalized drafts. That's what I showed you, where a user responded and then it kind of drafts the reply. That is a message that's outside of the sequence. That's more just like kind of an ad hoc personalized message that AI drafts kind of based on demand and kind of based on different actions and whatnot. So I guess I'm curious. So we could do a live demo. That'd be fun. If anyone has any candidates that they would be interested in seeing, or any like candidate types that they're like, oh man, I wonder if Snowbear could source this, I'd be happy to give it a live trial run and we can see what happens if anyone would be interested in that.
Anyone want to try it out? I've been trying it out, so I'll refrain. Does anybody here in the Syelo group want to try out a role they're working on? Or a recurring role, I would say. All right, going once, going twice.
Fair enough. I guess I'm curious for the group, along the same train of thought, even if we don't test it here, like what are some of the recurring roles that you're targeting? And generally, like what you're using for sourcing today would be super helpful as I'm kind of on the product journey of kind of understanding kind of what are the right solutions for sourcing today and kind of what other folks are using.
So I'm generally sourcing for like relatively niche roles. Like if we're looking for in the sales team, like it's very specific when we're looking for a payer salesperson, right? Or someone who's worked with like health systems. So I think for me, where a lot of like sourcing technology does become challenging is like I'm in a niche industry.
Right. That is good feedback. I do think you like someone with specific experience in healthcare. That'd be interesting. And I do think it could do a reasonable job at that. And there are a lot of like AI different methods that I'd be open to exploring to expand the data set. So, basically the data sets that I'm using is a constant state of refinement as I'm kind of looking for additional ways to, make sure to incorporate different skills. So if there was any challenges, we could definitely incorporate it within the Snowbear product. But so can you explain the specific job title again, or like what the specific criteria is?
So for example, like I've tested out like other sourcing tools out there, and the feedback has been it's too specific, it's too niche, it's not enough, right? I'm not looking for an engineer. I'm looking for an engineer. I just type in engineer, type of skill, boom, populates. It's just like LinkedIn. But for this one, it's like I'm looking for someone who has like experience selling to health plans, someone who's sold to like Blues, someone who's sold to like regional like CEOs for like health plans. So it becomes very niche and specific, where that's where a lot of sourcing tools struggle. And I usually that is the role I generally lean to when someone does a demo with me and go, well, we can source. I'm like, all right, pull me a profile, because it's a niche market, small industry. let me see if you're gonna pull profiles that I've seen before or new profiles I've never seen before.
Yeah, totally. That is, yeah, I'm genuinely curious. I'm willing to try. I don't know if it will work, candidly, but I'm willing to try it here on it. I think it'd be fun. And yeah, as you mentioned, it is hard. So if it doesn't work, that's okay. But hey, Snowbear.
Yes, for a long. I was like, well, that's a hard one for me.
Yeah. Well,
Let's try it. Let's try it.
Yeah. Why it's worth the test. Can you build a campaign to help me find sales leaders with experience selling? Did I get this right? I feel any
health plans. Health systems are going to be a lot easier. So health plans would be the correct word.
Cool. So would this be like an insurance?
Selling into health plans, yeah. No, so they're selling to insurance companies. So they're selling technology to insurance companies. They're selling services that we have as well.
Okay, cool. All right, yeah. Let's see what it comes back with, and if nothing else, you can see the experience of like creating a campaign, right, and whatnot. But I do think there are a lot of interesting AI sourcing tools and whatnot. But yeah, so right now it's thinking, receives the request, and it's thinking through kind of like what that ideal campaign structure would be. And maybe just as it's thinking, I'm curious. So with other sourcing tools, have you seen other things that are like as flexible and agentic? Like, is it mostly like something that's just producing a list? Does it kind of connect the dots and do the outreach, or kind of where have you seen it running the gambit of like sourcing tools specifically?
So where it struggles is like it'll start pulling like account managers or account directors.
Yeah, totally.
Like I'm a pure salesperson, and they're like, well, here's it just starts pulling me AMs and CSMs, and I'm like, that's not it.
Totally.
Because they're like, oh, they've done sales, but it's a different type of sale. So to answer that question, like the problem I'm seeing with a lot of these sourcing technologies, even like Juicebox, it's like, okay, well, they can do this. You're all scrubbing from this, and I mean, I don't know where you guys are scrubbing the database, but like everyone's scrubbing from similar places. But it comes to the point where their agents start kind of hallucinating, giving you titles that you never want, right? So like even on LinkedIn, I'm like, I don't want this title. Or when I'm working with my sourcing tools that I built internally, I'm like, I don't want these titles. It's hard to control what the bot's going to hallucinate.
100%. Yeah, and I think you're saying this as well, and I just, from my time at Instacart ads, we talked a lot about like supply and demand of just, a lot of advertisers will look for like very targeted things, and unfortunately, sometimes it is just really hard to find that specific supply. So it makes sense that systems would kind of expand that as needed. But so let's see. So what this comes back with after it, you send a request, it kind of sends back who that kind of campaign details that you could be populating. So let's see here. Connect with sales executives, selling into health plans, pairs. You can build relationships with leaders, complex buyers, VP of sales, CRO, head of sales, VP of director of sales, health tech. So like, Series A, 50 to 500 employees. Basically, why this audience? People searching mode 5. So any feedback, does this sound reasonable, or any feedback on this kind of profile?
No BD.
Okay. Don't include BD. Makes sense. And so yeah, I will refine this, and I think this is just, I see as a way easier way to create campaigns and just make it super flexible, so you can do this in a very easy way versus having to go in the UI and kind of set like those specific criteria. Of course, you can go back to the UI and kind of edit appropriately, but so right now it's probably thinking through kind of what you said, thinking about how it needs to adjust. So BD rules are out. I've created the campaign. Health plan leaders are active. VP of sales, VP of growth, no BD roles, health tech, people search. So then, sorry, did you say anything?
I just realized. So when it says health plans, sales leaders, I have a. So I'm curious if it's gonna pull me people who are at Blues or who are at like Optum and all these other health insurance companies, right? Because I'm selling to them, not them selling to themselves.
Oh, totally, that makes sense. That are at insurance companies today. Yeah, sorry for the misspelling. my typing for AI is so riddled with the errors. So don't include folks that are at insurance companies today. We are selling to insurance companies. Does that sound right?
Yeah.
Yeah, cool. All right. So So then it will see that feedback, and then it can adjust the campaign live. So no problem. It proactively created it, but now it's actually editing the campaign details. It will kind of include that note. So once it comes back here, the lag's about a minute. I'm working on enhancements to kind of provide more visibility of what it's thinking and doing as you're waiting for it, just because I know that the lag can be kind of annoying. But so it says good catch, updated the campaign will explicitly exclude anyone currently at insurance company or health plan. So then VP rule, okay, cool. Great. Any other final edits? Or I mean, you can also edit anytime, but just checking.
I probably should have said what title I'm hiring for. So if I'm hiring for like a director of sales, right, like a CRO would definitely not fall into that,
Right,
or a VP of growth.
Right, makes sense. So it's more focused on the sales versus growth or CRO, you're saying?
Yeah, it's focused definitely like on a pure salesperson, someone who's like a hungry hunter. It's getting much more niche. Sorry.
No, this is cool. That's fine. And then let's also create a Slack channel. All right, so we'll run that. It'll do that. It may or may not add me to the Slack channel, so I'll ask it after it creates it to add me, and then we can go look at the UI. Actually, look like what it created. I'll have to. I can show you that, and then when we're doing that, I'll ask it if it can find some of these people. And again, no guarantees, but just for fun, let's see kind of like what it looks, and yeah, it should be cool. All right, so then it does that. So I have a notification here. So Snowbear went ahead and created this, health plan leaders, then it messaged me here. It's like done, 2 updates made, tightened the persona, VP of sales, host, director of sales only, CRO and VP of growth are out along with BD. And then created the Slack channels live, campaign notifications will be sent there. So that's cool. I, along the lines of just like tweaking and adjusting, just behind the scenes, kind of what it does when it sources candidates, it'll actually pull all your past messages and create a campaign brief that is used for each fill up. So, Sabrina was, as she was testing, she provided really good feedback of like, this is specifically who I want to look for. And, based on that feedback, now that feedback is incorporated in every search, and the searches have been much more tight and more refined. So that's just, feedback generally as you're using Snowbear. It does incorporate any messages. So it's really helpful that you're kind of going through and iterating on this, because it keeps track of all my messages and uses that every time it sources. So that'll be super helpful. Let's go here and you run a pipeline fill up to find initial campaign. All right, we'll see what it does. And then as it is running, let me go pop over to Snowbear.
I would also just show Michael too, like the capability of the dashboard to like export your candidates and kind of see
100%.
in list form, because I know
Yep.
like it just depends on what you're trying to do with your candidates, but that could be helpful.
Totally, it's a good call. Thank you. Okay, so that was a different account, so I need to go to Michael at snowbear.ai. And then let me log in here. Okay, perfect. So you can see health plan sales leaders. This is the campaign that was just created. And then you can see the details that we've been adding. So connect with sales executives who experience selling into health plans. Talks about kind of the specific roles, exclude VPs of growth and CRO. That's great that it kind of just updated that. Look at selling to buyers, not prospect for them, and talks about the specific role. Again, connection request sequence is the sequence that's by default. Just like, no personalization there. I've actually seen that acceptance requests are increased when you don't have specific personalization, but of course you can create a new campaign, new sequence, or kind of adjust accordingly. You can, do enrichment. There are different tiers. So When we do need help, like finding very specific candidates, you can do a premium, which is more credits just because it's a more expensive data source on my end. So it's just kind of price based on the input price. Or you can do an optimized version, which will do general first and then do premium if it can't find anyone through the general version. So yeah, you can make any edits there. And then let me show you that I don't know if people are going to be tied to this. Oh, perfect. There you go. Yeah. So there are some people tied to this test account. So these are people that are previously searched from different campaigns. You can filter by the specific campaigns, company, role, city, what have you, export them. So you can export the relevant information in this tab. I'll just do that for fun. Let me test 2 general sales leaders. Cool. Export this sheet. So then you can close this modal and then it will appear in the documents tab. So you can kind of see all the candidates that were exported, and kind of within this, you can control, oh, there you go. Yeah, so it was created, and then you can control here the specific columns that are shown. So you can kind of edit if you want to include email or whatnot, but I think, all right. So I just checked back on Slack. It hasn't had people yet. It can take a while. It can take up to 30 minutes of AI kind of going through the database. So I might be saved from having to show you the candidates, but right now it says starting to fill up for health plan now. I'll let you know when it's in review. And right now it's actively going through and kind of doing that filtering process of kind of looking through a few different databases to find how it can find those relevant folks. Maybe I'll quickly search. I have access to like the backend, so I'm curious if it's found anyone, just so I can pull up a live result. And yeah, no guarantees, but yeah, it's still pretty early. It just got done kind of building your brief and whatnot. And I can show you just because yeah. Yeah, it's just kind of setting up the details now, so it'll take about a minute, but or about 30 minutes. And this again runs every morning for you, so you don't actually have to wait when you're actually like doing the fill up, but it just runs automatically for folks, and you can adjust it. But cool, good questions. Is that would you say that is consistent, or for the other folks on the call? Are the people that you're sourcing pretty consistent with what Thompson said in terms of like pretty niche areas? Are any of you guys sourcing for like engineers, or what's like a classic persona that you guys are focused on?
I think Thompson's is pretty niche. I mean, I think all of us have one-offs like that.
Yep, totally.
But
I can make it more niche if you want.
Oh my gosh.
I mean, I'm probably more niche than most. Like all I do is source corporate tax professionals. So.
Okay. That sounds doable for sure. Is that like, and what portion of your time would you guys say is focused on the sourcing aspect, kind of doing the outreach directly versus kind of like the other operational components, or yeah, just kind of learning more broadly, kind of where you focus your time?
Are you asking from? Michael, I joined late, so I apologize. I didn't mean that ran late.
Nope.
I'm the agency recruiter, 2-person shop, and so I mean my days are split between business development and sourcing for candidates. Right now, sourcing for candidates is not as hard for me. I mean, it's a very niche ICP, which makes it easier. It becomes nuanced or more difficult because of the technical aspects that each client asks for that are specific in nature, industry specific kind of thing, which makes each search more of a having the tailor per se kind of thing. My biggest pain point, contrary to like Thompson, who's internal, like, I mean, is business development. Right now, I'm stymied by the bureaucratic HR arm of saying, hey, we're not outsourcing to recruiters right now. We can source in-house. So that's my. So I Paul, again, apologize. I'm running out of this. is this primarily for sourcing candidates only, or is this also geared towards business development? Because agency is both sides.
Yeah, totally, 100%. No, great question. And, we really support across the gambit so many different professional use cases. And, I have a lot of people using it for, prospecting and whatnot. I have a lot of founders using it in my network that are using it to identify leads and whatnot. And it is super refreshing. It genuinely does help, get meetings with potential prospects or whatnot. So you could, just for fun, let me ask Snowbear, can you help build a campaign to identify companies that are in need of help with recruiting? Maybe you're focused on people that have raised money recently, perhaps, or different qualities like that. People.
It's going to be a combination of, yes, pre-IPO is part of it, but I would say that a lot of the companies are going to be Fortune 500, because if you have a corporate tax department, you're big enough where you're filing SEC and provision, all that stuff, quarterly or monthly, that kind of thing. That's where that's where tax is necessary.
Yeah, good point. Yep. Tax department. Cool. So now I was going to review this, and yeah, this is definitely a use case that we would support, and would find kind of like directors, VPs, kind of within those organizations that you can reach out to and engage, and this would be a good way for you to be reaching out to those folks kind of on a daily basis. And we built the ability for you to have campaigns, so you can kind of split up the different personas. So the dashboard that I was showing before, you can have a campaign that's focused on recruiting for a specific candidate, and then you can also have another prospecting campaign, and each of those could be identifying 5 to 10 candidates per day, and then you can kind of keep both pipelines healthy. So that's definitely the use case that we built it for. So this is kind of like what the hypothesis of who it could be focusing on. So corporate tax recruiting campaign, sizable tax departments who need help. Yep. Cool. Connect with decision makers who own that hiring, VPs of tax, head of tax, VP of HR talent acquisition, director of tax at large enterprises with significant corporate tax functions. These are large mode companies. So it's going to be focusing on the company first. So companies that likely have the tax department need, and then people at those companies. And then, ask follow-up questions as needed. So it wants to verify the potential buyer that you're focused on, and industry focus as well. So it rightfully called out Fortune 500 is pretty broad. So are there specific verticals that you're focused on? Wants to refine all that, and then it would create that campaign for you.
Okay. That's awesome. Yeah, I would just include CFOs too, because CFOs are going to be the ones in paying for head of tax. So it covers for so it'd be, yes, HR, because they are the ones administrating the process, and then CFOs are the ones who are going to hire head of tax, and then head of tax are the ones who are going to hire like tax directors and below, kind of thing. So
cool. Would you target like a head of tax, or is that person the person you're trying to hire for?
Both. Yeah, because I place them, I'm having conversations with them on both sides, right? A lot of times, tax will say, "Hey, I'm not necessarily hiring," or because they're not hiring or able to hire or not growing, they're looking for a different role, kind of thing, to be placed for that. So,
makes sense. Totally makes sense. So we'll do that. Let's looking at, so this is still running in the background here. And then so it's now it will create this campaign that's specifically focused on the head of tax and this BD use case.
Is the campaign, so when you say the campaign, so this is like an outbound system, like on top of LinkedIn? Is it on LinkedIn and email? You can sequence it accordingly. So it's kind of, because I'm reminded of like other similar competitors per se, like there's pin.com, there's Noon, right? There's Talon.ai, I think is another one. So similar vein, that those
similar vein is very focused on prospecting, kind of engaging these candidates, reaching out on email and LinkedIn. I think where we separate is kind of the focus on more agentic capabilities. So it is like, an agent that you're talking to in Slack that has this kind of flexible UI. So, every day. So it created this Slack channel for you where you can track this campaign. And I was showing this. This is like a live view of what it looks like on a daily basis. So you're actually getting these notifications in Slack of every day, kind of these prospects that it identified, the relevant people, why they were enrolled, their role, title, etc. And then every day you're also receiving a notification kind of on the acceptance rates. So the responses, acceptance rates, kind of the engagement that you're driving with your pipeline. So you just have it on, autopilot, and AI is constantly every day finding additional candidates for you to source, and then adding them to your pipeline, and then sharing with you kind of the results and whatnot. So yeah, there are a lot of prospecting tools. But we think kind of leaning more into the AI aspect is the differentiator for now. I think in the future, we want to, do a few things to differentiate further. I think one is like just integrate with more systems. So the more that we can integrate within, HR and talent systems to help you kind of review your pipeline more exhaustively, I think that will drive a lot of value. And the additional piece is that we want to actually connect the dots between candidates and hirers. So as we expand and actually help more job seekers, we think we can actually connect the two and build a marketplace. And that's kind of where we see the more future of Snowbear that we're excited about.
Okay. Gotcha.
So these are the notifications, and you also receive notifications for when people respond on LinkedIn, you can have it, draft responses as well and whatnot.
Got it. Okay. Awesome, man.
Yeah. I guess, David, yeah, go ahead.
Sorry, really quick, Michael, what's your relationship to LinkedIn? They're totally above board and happy with what you're doing?
Yeah. We use a third party called Unipile, which is what Lemlist and AISDR uses. They're SOC 2 verified and whatnot, and they handle your authentication. So that's the provider that we're using for LinkedIn specifically. Yeah, good question. That definitely comes up a lot. Definitely. Yeah, and we support emails as well. So we have the email integration and can look for, again, professional and personal emails. So you can kind of send emails and LinkedIn and kind of leverage both of those. So.
Yeah, that's actually true, Michael. I didn't think about that. That if you're kind of more on like the BD side or agency side, you'd want more of the professional email to reach out to potential clients. That makes sense. And you do have the option, which is new. We've been playing with it, and it's great.
Heck yeah. David, I'm curious, you're talking about the other sourcing tools. Are you using any of them? Or I'd love feedback of like kind of your experience with them, or pros and cons and whatnot.
I use pin.com. Cool. And personalities aside, I like the product. I used Noon AI. I wasn't enamored with it. I used Talent.ai. I found the UX to be very cumbersome. The current price point for pin.com has me on, like, I paused it. I think it's a monthly $300 a month. And I think so. For what I'm experiencing is I don't have an issue with candidates coming to me with sourcing candidates. Right now, my pain point is business development and getting folks on the line in terms of, and then really it's not really getting them on the phone to talking about roles. It's really getting past HR and them saying no to external resources. So that's my biggest pain point right now. So I mean, it's not. And then I've used a different tool that's been on top of you, like on LinkedIn for a while, that automates messaging, connector campaigns. It's only on link. It's only via LinkedIn, so there's no sequencing with emails on top of that.
Cool.
But that's served me well over the last 6 or 7 years. Price point of like $75 a month. So yeah, I mean that's the summary there, kind of thing.
No, super helpful. I appreciate that. Maybe a good segue. I can talk about pricing briefly and everything. And we are in beta, but would be excited to expand it to the Syelo community and whatnot. So pricing, we've been refining it as you can imagine with a startup. But these are the current packages. So, we have a lighter tier that's really focused on a very small amount of volume, just kind of testing the capability and whatnot. We see a lot of folks kind of using the pro tier, which is more focused on reaching out to 15 to 30 people per day, more for kind of like expanding with specific roles, kind of supporting multiple use cases and whatnot. And then the max tier, which, just allows you to kind of do more exhaustive things, 30 to 50 candidates, kind of get more credits for, email enrichment and whatnot. These icons kind of explain kind of the credits per action. So we charge credits for kind of the contact identification, company identification, and then things like the actions we take on LinkedIn as well. And then enterprise pricing, if there are specific companies you're working with that would want to like integrate with their systems more in depth, I think that's kind of where that would come more into play. So that's the current pricing. For our current, we are offering a $40 credit for the Syelo community. So I'll send that to Sabrina afterwards. But if you signed up within May, the pro tier, then you can access this $40 credit and use it. And we'd love any feedback, in the email to Sabrina as well. I can share my contact information. If you have any questions, feel free to email or text or anything. More than happy to answer anything kind of as we refine the product.
Awesome. I just want to, with respect to time, Michael, any other questions for the group? Anything you want to ask us?
That's a great question. Maybe on the integration piece, does that come to mind at all in terms of like integrating with, platforms that are, that you're working with your clients on or something? Is that a need that you would see of like, some clients are really focused on, greenhouse or something, and they really need an integration there? Is that feasible or something that's come up with like any clients that you're working with?
If this can integrate with ATSs in general, that would be great. Basically just like pull this data. And again, like you can do that manually right now. You can export and add into basically any of your ATSs, but
Totally.
to integrate it with certain ATSs, that would be great. Just automatically added it into projects.
Totally. That's really where I see the future going. And, I'm very aware. I did a lot of hiring at Instacart and, was on like hiring committees and stuff. And we would, the companies are drowned in applicants, right? Like I think there's a lot of companies are getting like a ton of people that are interested, and AI's made that even worse. So having kind of the other side of this is AI being used to kind of like review that pipeline and then merge it with the outbound, and then kind of one concrete view of candidates that are coming in and that you're kind of engaging. So I think there's a lot of opportunity for Snowbear to help as well, and I'd be happy to chat with any folks on that.
Yeah, that would be really interesting to see. I don't know if anyone has found one. I haven't, but like most ATSs don't do well sourcing through applicants. Like there's not really like good capability for that. So having a tool that can source your applicants or like filter through your applicants would be helpful too.
100%. Yeah, it's basically doing the same process of kind of like rolling through the database, but doing so in using kind of the folks that you already engaged with. So yeah, that'd be awesome. And thank you guys again for kind of the presentation. Sabrina, I'll send you a note kind of with details on how folks can access that discount, and if they're interested, how they can sign up, and get in touch with me and Thompson. I'll follow up on the results that come back from that campaign. I'll let you know kind of what it finds.
Sounds good.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Michael. Thanks everyone for joining today. I'll share the recording, and Michael, just so you know, I sent out this recording to all our internal group along with the feedback form. So you should be getting feedback from there as well, but I'll share any information that you send with me today.
Amazing. Thank you very much.
Awesome. Thanks everyone. Have a good one. Bye.